the Internet of Things era. The car is sort of the last domino to fall. So as an industry, we have to be thinking about what are the ways in which the platform of the car can be monetized beyond just the sale.
Is there going to be over time more and more entrants into the market, or is it going to see some consolidation at some point?
Fragmentation can exist for a long time. When there's enough pie to be consumed, then there'll be many mouths that will show up to try to eat it. But the demand for mobility extends far beyond the people that can afford to own a car here. It's everyone, right? So that's the landscape that we're in, and what's created the entry of some of these new players is they see the ability to aggregate demand for that mobility. The automotive industry was an efficient aggregator of demand for automobiles. They're not an efficient aggregator of demand for mobility. The efficient aggregator of the demand for mobility is the mobility as a service company or the internet company that provides the app that summons the mobility to occur. Carl Benz invented the internal combustion engine, God bless his soul. It survived for 136 years. Fast forward to today, if you're going to be the most efficient aggregator of demand, the vehicle technology of choice to move those things around, the demand for mobility, is going to be an electric propulsion system. And the winners are likely to be the players that can make the most efficient aggregation of demand for the mobility to be delivered. China hasn't invented the smartphone. It didn't invent the EV. It hasn't invented the high-speed train either. But it's mass commercialized in ways that we haven't seen anywhere else on the planet. The smart devices, the smartphones, and the high-speed train network, and I think will also the smart electric vehicle, the smart EV. Why? Because it has this not only ability to aggregate supply chain, right? It has a large market for whatever product is being manufactured, so it aggregates the supply chain around it, and it aggregates demand much more efficiently because of the way people use the internet and the way they consume services. That's what's driving the innovation.
For example, a parallel industry, perhaps, in the logistics trucking industry, there's the story of Cainiao, which is the Ali invested logistics company, smart logistics. And I believe, if I get the story right, they signed up a lot of these disaggregated trucking companies to better optimize their routes. But in the process, they created a system which these companies were beholden to the operating system. So do you see a similar kind of scenario playing out in the auto space?
Oh, absolutely. The goal of the tech disruptor is to create stickiness to their platform, the aggregation platform. When you see Xiaomi or Apple, even, I mean, this isn't purely about China, right? When you see a tech, when you see a company that does tech innovation step into a new industry, they're not coming to manufacture the product. Right? This is often the mistake, and I got to say, a lot of people who report on this industry completely get this wrong, right? They're talking about, oh, Apple's becoming an EV company, becoming an automotive company. They're not. They're becoming they're basically extending the reach of their digital ecosystem into another smart device. I think the risk that you run is if you're relegating yourself to that premium lane, where I only serve the market of ownership, not usership, because that's where the traditional industry is today, right? It prioritizes retail, not fleet, right? It prioritizes the ownership model, not the usership model. If I'm in the business of prioritizing that, my problem is my business model is centered on one thing, and that's the factory. How many units can I build? At what scale? How much does it cost me to invest and build that vehicle? And can I do it with enough cost efficiency at aggregating the demand for ownership to be able to make a profit? That's the automotive industry business model in a nutshell. The internet model is how many users can I get stuck to my ecosystem and how many transactions am I going to generate from the day-to-day interactions I have with that user.
Bifurcation, right? Of different markets, especially which are data driven. And I guess it's just countries and people realizing the sovereignty and sensitivity of data sharing and so forth.
Yeah,
so I wonder if that, traditionally you had Toyota and GM, global companies, they made one model or however many models and sold it around the world. I wonder in this new kind of a business model, if we're going to be able to have global champions where they're so data driven and people are throwing up walls right now.
China just happens to be a burning sun with high gravitational pull for the companies that want to sell products and services. Services tends to be a little trickier for foreign companies to participate in, but if you want to sell products, you have to be partnered in with the services ecosystems that exist here, and that gravitational force is going to be pretty high. You've completely democratized mobility now, right? You've made it available to however many people could afford to buy one of these. That efficient mechanism, combined with the switch to electric propulsion, is basically breaking the two moats that existed around the industry, right? The larger population of people who could afford and had the habit of ownership. You don't need that anymore in China to be able to get people in motion. And now you've got electric propulsion, where you've completely taken the supply chain dominance associated with manufacturing at scale of the internal combustion engine. You've replaced it with an EV battery supply chain, which China has already 60% share of. So that it's quite a different world that we're embarking in. And if the West is going to keep up, it needs to create a way to match that. It needs to create another. You could say maybe we can out innovate and jump to the next propulsion technology, but you're always going to fight the problem of how do you replicate the advantage of the economies of scale of China.
Still, the US core competency is software, right? I mean, genuine, like, not business model adaptation of software, but more on advanced software as hardware software integration with sensors, I imagine, and self-driving car technology. Yes. Do you still see that as an advantage in the US? Are we even framing the conversation in the wrong way of this country has an advantage in this and this?
The product and technology innovation capability sets. And that's partly, this vibrant academic and venture capital backed business that exists in primarily the US, where that's still the US's, dominant advantage, is its ability to breed and incubate innovations. My concern is incubation is not enough, right? A lot of tech dies as a baby if it doesn't have a place to scale. A lot of that technology and innovation that comes out of places like the US and Israel and Europe, the gravitational pull of the big market, the one that's much more willing to, experiment, is going to cause more and more of those technologies to orbit the bigger sun. Capability set. I would say you can't rest on that forever, because China can do that too. Over time, what I've witnessed in the 17 years I've lived here is that China and Chinese companies, you just cannot underestimate their ability to learn how to get better at whatever they're doing.